Hi, this is Teacher Buxton. Welcome to Construction Quantity Surveying Tutoring Channel, where we get to learn quantity surveying from its best. From what we've been focusing on in our previous sessions, we've been doing what we call preparation of bills of quantities. And the preparation of bills of quantities involves various aspects: interpretation of the drawing, putting the drawing interpretations into now actual quantities, and also preparing a very crucial document that is applicable in the construction industry to give you the estimate and also to budget, to maintain the cost of the project, and so on. We've done 5 sessions so far, and from those 5 sessions, they have been procedural from the beginning to where we are at the moment. So far so good. We managed to do including all the items of the bills of quantities from the preliminaries and also the excavations and filling. Today I would like us to go straight to concrete work. Concrete works, as usual, get to interpret your drawing. That is what is very important. Get to understand the drawing that you have. Once you have done so, then you are able to see from where exactly you need to measure, or you need to get the interpretation of your plans and the dimensions quite properly. When you check at the section, for you to know whether you have a blinding or you have a footing and you also have a column pad and so on, check on your foundation layout. Of course, that will show you the arrangement of the bases and also the columns and so on, which is very okay and very mandatory for you to understand. Then you go to the section. This is now what you have as the section. So from the section, you are able to see a section of the strip footing, also sections of the column bases and so on. So from there, you are able to interpret that. For instance, here we have a blinding which is 50 millimeters thick on the strip footing. Then you also check further if you also have details of the column bases. So for instance, this is column base B1. Column base B1 from the foundation layout is existing. For instance, you can see it at grid A1, you have column base B1. So from there, just check above it. This is now base B1. There's a column C1 on it. Above it there, we have a section of the same. So from the section, you're also able to see there is a blinding. And then there is now a column base. So those are now the items that I would like us to measure in our session today. Let's see how we go about the same. So the very first things first, you first give a description. This is now mass concrete mix of 1 to 4 to 8 in blinding. So we'll separate it as under the strip footing and also under column bases. So it starts with the strip footing. So for the strip footing, check on your foundation layout. On your foundation layout so that you get the length, because we'll start with getting the length first and then we get the width next and so on. So once you have understood that, then we'll continue with what we need to learn today. So what we do on our side, on the side of our bills of quantities, especially now that I've divided the part of the bills of quantities and the part where we are doing our waste calculations as it is. So we'll first get what we call the length. Let me just put this by side so that our drawing can be read quite properly. So let's just do it that way. That's now fine. Then you just stretch it a bit as it is so that you're able to see that. Okay, right. So at the side we'll get the length of our strip footing, and that length from here you can see there is that length. It's coming from this point and then going all the way to that point there. That is a grid D1. So it's from grid just above grid B1 to somewhere along the grid D1. So the length that we need, we are going to get that length from the center line. So it means we'll be adding that length and the width will multiply by 2, right? So from here, let's read and see what it has. So this is from D1 upwards, that is 1100. Then we have 3200. That is just up to grid B1. Okay, so we'll add those two, and then of course we have a smaller part of it that we need to check what exactly that dimension is. So normally you will check from all the ones that have been given. If you don't find it, then the alternative is you check with your with your architectural drawings. So if you don't find that dimension there, then go and check from the architectural drawing so that you are able to see exactly how that is done. Alright, so let me check from the architectural drawing where it has been given. Thereafter we'll get that dimension, because you understand that architectural plan and what we call the structural plan, they should be read in conjunction, so that the dimension that you don't find in the architectural plan, you should be able to find them in what we call the structural plan. So we move on. The safest way in which you can always compare whether your drawings are in order, or the sections of it that you're checking are the correct ones, is by the use of grids. So the exact part that we need is just slightly beyond grid B1 towards A1. Alright, and that is the part where we have that particular column. So when you look at it, it's the area for the staircase. Okay, if I can just zoom it in again, then you are able to see that it's along this is grid 5 to 6, and then on the longer dimension, that is now the length, it's from along grid this is grid D1, C1, B1 towards A1. Okay, so let's see what that is. So from here, what you are able to read and interpret is that from that part that we need, it's from the column to the end. Alright, so the column that I'm talking about is this. So from the column towards A1. So let's go to the architectural plan. So from that point, you can see that external wall towards the end, and that when you zoom it in and check properly, it's 0.600. Okay, so it's from that line cutting across. So once we have that, then we get back to our structural plan and continue with what we are doing. Now for our length is now going to be, so we have 1100, so we'll do 1.1. Of course, we just stick to meters, so it's 1.1. then we add 3.2, then we also add, so we've seen that the total is 1200 from grid B1 to A1. 1200, you can see it there. So from the 1200, from the external part going outwards is 600. So we'll take a difference. We'll take the 1200, but then we subtract the 600, which is now to the external part that we don't need, because our length should be ending at the center of this particular point. All right. So from 1200 minus 600 that we've just read from the architectural plan should leave us with another 0.6 to be added from grid B1 going top upwards. So we have that length. So that is the length is now 4.9, and then we also calculate what we have as the width. So as the width, we can directly read it from our plan. So let's just do that. From grid 5 to grid 6, just take it straight on those two grids of those particular walls. So it's 1200 plus 1200. Okay, so it's 1.2 plus 1.2, then we add to another 1.2, that is giving us 2.4. So for us to get the total length is therefore going to be 4.9. Then we add to that, and then we should multiply these the total times 2. All right, sorry for that, it needs to be outside here, times 2. All right, so our center line for that particular wall where we have the foundation walling is 14.6 meters. So looking at the rest of it, we can't see another foundation wall, so it means that is the only length that we need for our foundation strip footing. Of course, you have to remember that the rest of it outward, that is now a boundary wall and will be dealt with separately. All right, so we go back to our section and check. From the section, we are able to see that we have a typical section, and what is available here, what has been shown in terms of the width, is 600. So this is the only place that you can get This is the only part that you can get the width that you have and also height, that is read from the section. So we see this is 600 millimeters. So normally read your plan to get the length on the ground or the aerial view, the length, but then go to your sections. That is where you are able to find what we call the widths. Alright, of course widths maybe you can get them on the plan as well, but you can confirm them at the section level, and also you can get the details including the heights and this and so on. So we have 600 millimeters as the width of that particular strip footing. Alright, so let's now the area is going to be the total length, and then we multiply by the width, which is 0.6. Alright, so what we have here is 8.76 square meters, and that is equivalent to 9 square meters for the for blinding for our strip footing. So we'll move on. We'll move on to our next item, and our next item is in the next page, and that is now the column bases. All right, so let's see how to go about the column bases in terms of the mass concrete blinding. So what we'll do, we'll get back to the foundation layout and identify what we have as your bases. Identify everything. Okay, normally you will find some of them have been indicated at the details level in terms of the numbers that you have and so on. Okay, in this part we don't have the numbers, so that's fine. Some engineers would indicate for you the number of column bases that they have, the number of columns that you have, but you as a quantity surveyor, you will be at fault for using those numbers instead of counting what has been drawn on the foundation layout. Therefore, it's my advice that normally you have to confirm, you have to count all those bases before you use them in your estimation. So you get back to the foundation layout, confirm them one by one. That's what we need to do right now, very quickly. So you will have just a schedule. You can just make a small schedule of column bases, all right, just by the side here, as we've always done. So can just make, all right, a column schedule. So from this schedule you'll have items like bases. Okay, so this is you can just make that to be an ID, maybe base B1, B2 and so on, and then you can have here the size, and then the next column you can have, let me say, the number and as such. All right, okay, so you can have it that way. So of course when you see the other item that needs to be included there, we can include another column, but at the moment we can work with those three. So this is now column bases. We can call it column bases schedule. Alright, this is just column base schedule. Let's just have it that way. So ID1, let's see ID1 what we have. We have B1, that is now base 1. So what is the size of base 1? We are going to find out that at the details in the next page. Then another ID is we've talked about B1, then we talk about CB1, and then let's see which one is next. B3 is also here. So B1, CB1, B3. Let's see if there is another one or a B2 somewhere. Then I can see CB2. Okay, so you can make this CB2, and then we have a B3. So if in case we meet another one, if we come across another base, then we'll be able to see it and add it on our list. So just want to rub off these what I drew here, so that we have a clearer plan. So that's okay. So let's see, from B1 I want us to give, okay, B1 with size we'll get from the lower section, or the lower All right, so this is the number. Let's now count the numbers that we have from the foundation layout. Okay, so B1, normally I always prefer that we go per grade. So you can always take the grid that is giving you fewer number of bases at a time, so that you are able to count them one by one and you don't repeat or you don't miss out on them. All right, so let's start from grid A. This is grid 1. Yeah, I'm hoping that you are able to read them well as they have been presented there. So at grid at grid 1 we have B1, we have CB1, and we have another B1. So B1 that we have are 2. Okay, so you can use any mean, because this is not the final figure. We can just use, I just want to use those strokes so that you are able to see them, and then at the end of the day we do a tally. Of course you would tally them when you are having a pen, it would be easier, but then now that we are using Excel, you use is as it is, so we don't need to have so many presentations or writings and so on. So B1, from that grid we have 2 of them. Okay, we have 1, we have 2, that is 2. Then CB1 we have 1 in that grid. Okay, then we go to the next grid. So that was grid 1 and grid 2, they are sharing that. Then you go to grid this is now grid 3 4 5. Okay, so from 3 4 5 we have another B1 and a B3. So B1 we add another one, and then the next we go to B3. So B3 we also have another column base, that is, so we've counted 1 2, and then still at it you can see the one that is at 5 6 7 is overlapping, and that the whole of it is called CB2. Okay, so you can see CB2 is overlapping up to where we have the ones that we picked, so we'll also count on CB2, as 1 there. And then up to the top we have B1 at that particular point. So yeah, B1 along grid 5, so we add another B1 there, so we have another B1 at that point. All right, then we'll go to we'll also just start from the lower part where we started, that is now along grid 8. We have B1 and B3. Okay, so B1 we add another one, and then B3 we also add another one, that is another B3. Not really, yes, those 2. So we have B3 and B1. Then to the top, I'm sure we didn't count this one here. Yes, the one that is just to the side of B1, so another B1 is to be added there, another B1. So we continue. We've counted up to grade 7 and grade 8. Okay, so what we haven't counted is along grade 10, and grade 10 we can see we have B1, so we'll add a B1 here, and then we have another CB1. CB1 is here, this CB1, and then this is another B1, so we add B1 for that. Okay, alright, just to cross check so that you are sure and see properly what you've counted. Just want to count them randomly so that we get the total number. So from okay, we can add this first and see. Okay, so that is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, so those are 8 in number, and then these are 2, this is 1, and then these are 2. Okay, so this gives us a total of this is 10 11 plus 2, that is 13. So let's just count them if they are 13 in total number. Okay, so we start from where we started: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13. Perfect. So the total is 13, and I believe that we've identified them correctly. So the first hack that you have to be very keen about is the identification of those bases. Identify them properly, and then from the layout, and then count them. All right. So once you have done so, then go back to what we call the details. So the details is in this page. So from this page, just confirm if this, whether the sizes that are indicated there and the sizes on the layout are also similar, because you might find that the details are going to be different in terms of the sizes that are indicated on the plan and the sizes that are indicated on the details. So for instance, B1, I always like to take them in that sequence. For instance, B1 is 2000 by 2300. Go back to the plan and confirm. Okay, just let me zoom it in. This is B1, 2300 by 2000. So that size is similar to what has been shown on the details, and therefore we can now take the size. So the size here is 2.3 by 2, then just use this 2.3 by 2 by the size in terms of concrete is going to be, actually, to make our work easier, I just want to stretch this to be on the side to give us an additional column. So let me just copy this here. Not really, that is not what I wanted. So alright, I want it to be there. Alright, so from the size we have a length and we have width. Okay, for the size. So for the sizes, the length, this problem, what I want. Okay, it seems I have to introduce another row at the top so that I have that allowance to do what I want. I want to include that additional. Okay, this is okay now. So let me just I want to bring this one up top. Just select them and then you stretch them up. Okay, so that is what I want. Then I want these two, the length and the width, to be somewhere there. Alright, so for the B1, what is the length and what is the width? So we've seen it's 2.3 for the length and the width is 2 meters. That is from the details. Okay, then CB1, let's see what we have at CB1. This is a CB2. CB1 is here. It's 2.7 by 2.2. 2.7 by 2.2. Alright, so normally what you have at the layout should be superior to what you have at the what we call at the details. Okay, so we need to check the sizes. For instance, now we have, this is now CB2. Let's see the size for the CB2. Of course, I'm saying that the plan takes precedence, so you need to take what is on the plan first before you consider what's at the details. All right, because this is now what was designed, and that is what is going to be implemented, especially for this layout that we are talking about. Now for the CB2, let's see CB2, it's 5600 by 1800. Can just zoom in and confirm. 5600 by 1800. Then we move to the details. Let's confirm that. This is also 5600 by 1800, so that is 5.6 times 1.8. Alright, then we go to B3. Let's see what we have. B3 is here, and the size is 2100 square, so it's 2.1 times 2.1. Alright, so we have that, and okay, I didn't copy these ones upwards that way. So what we go to is now the areas. area for what we need in terms of the blinding. So the blinding is a square meter, so we'll just get length by width, then you multiply by the number of those bases. Okay, so just copy that formula. You can just, after you've done one cell as we've done using that formula, then you click on that particular cell, then just have your cursor until you have that dark plus sign, then you drag it downwards that way. When you do so, you're going to have the same formula repeated for the rest of the cells downwards. So once you have that, then you get a summation, just sum, type sum, and then you double click, stretch it downwards, equal sign. So what we have is 67.58, so that comes to 68 square meters for the blinding for the bases. Okay, so that brings us to the end of what we call the bases, the concrete for the bases. Then we move to the concrete now for the mix reinforced concrete for the strip footing and also for the column bases. So we need to get those two. So we'll talk about reinforced concrete. Reinforced concrete, can talk about class 20 or rather class 25. Okay, so class 25 normally in terms of the ratio can have it maybe here, mix, or you can talk about mix 1 to 1.5 to 1.5 to 1.5 to 3. Okay, in terms of the mix of cement, sand, and what we call the ballast. So we'll go straight to what is next, KL, then this is now M for the next item. So we can make this to be bold for that description, and also this one also to be bold. So what will go next is the strip footing, reinforced concrete for the strip footing. So for the strip footing, what we had calculated in terms of the blinding remains the same length that we are going to use for the strip footing as well. So that is going to be maintained. Okay, so from what we have, this is going to be, it's supposed to be in cubic meters, concrete for the strip footing. So the length that we have already calculated for our footing, where we got it to be 14.6, this was the total length. This total length is now what is going to be used to multiply by the width of that footing, and then you multiply by the thickness or the depth of the footing. Depth you find it from the section, and in this point it's 200 millimeters. Okay, so what you have there, let's get the volume. So this is now footing volume, so is equals to, the length is 14.6, then you multiply by 0.6, which is the width of the strip section of the footing, and then we multiply by the depth, and the depth in this case is 0.2. Okay, so the volume comes to 1.7, that is about 2 cubic meters of concrete in the footing. Okay, then next is column bases. The next is column bases. So normally what you'll do, we have the size. Of course the sizes have already been indicated in this from our schedule. So normally you can have these are column base schedule. Yeah, you can always, just for your reference purposes, you can have this schedule, then you can just have it as at bracket for the blinding. Okay, then you can copy the whole of these. You can copy the whole of this as it is, but then now instead of you can copy it here. Okay, that is looking congested. I just want another line, a difference. so that in this part I have it indicated as a concrete bases. Okay, so for the bases, just have it alongside, as long as you've indicated, for you to be able to follow up easily when you are done or you want to make a few changes here and there. So these are ID, the size, and then we need now to include what we call another column for the depth of the various concrete bases that we have. So we have a D here to show the depth. So for B1, let's see what we have in the B1 and what we have as its depth. So all those, you go back to the next page where you got the sizes, the details, and then you check. B1, for instance, is here. So for the B1, it's 2300 by 2000 by 500. Okay. So when you look at the plan, it's talking about 2300 by 2000 by 500. When you look at the section, it's talking about 450 in terms of the depth. Okay, that means there is a disparity. So whenever there's a disparity, then it means you need to pick the bigger one. Okay, so it's always safer to be on an slightly upper end than being on the lower end. That is option 1. Option 2, you can seek clarification from the engineer who made the design. Okay, so actually that is one option. That if you can't see clarification, then you use the figure that is of upper value. So in this case, you can even notice that the difference is just some 50 millimeters in thickness. So you can always pick on the 500 instead of the 450. So in this case, we are going to talk about 0.5. And then CB1, let's see if CB1 also has disparity. CB1 is somewhere here. Okay, this is CB2. CB2 is 5600 by 1800 by 750. Of course, this one is similar to what we have in the section. So this is CB2 is 0.75. And then let's see which one is next. CB1 is here. It's 450, so that is similar. So CB1 is 0.45, and then B3 is somewhere here. So for the B3, it's 2100 square by 450. That one is also similar. So in this case, it's 0.45. Okay. Then now this one is going to be, you edit this to be volume. So for the volume, we now need to have length, width, times depth, then times the number. Okay, so we need to change our formula. So we have a length times width times depth, and then times the number. Okay, then you just copy that to all other cells. Then you have a summation of the total volume of what you should have in terms of concrete. So that comes to 36 cubic meters. Okay, so that is 36 cubic meters for the column bases. So what we have so far, it's giving us an insight of how to go about, we've just done blinding, how to go about blinding, and also how to go about the column bases. So there are a few other items that we have under the reinforced concrete which we need to learn in our next session, including beams. We'll check if there are ground beams to be measured there. Then we'll also talk about the column, the stub columns. Now those are the foundation columns, and so on. So there are still quite a number of items that we need to measure from here, and moving forward we'll be able to just do them bit by bit until they are all completed. I want to thank you very much for watching up to this point, and I wish you quite well, and I'm confident that the video was worthwhile watching. So as we move on, we keep to get even more in-depth coverage on these items that we've been doing. So thank you very much, have a great time, and please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Till we meet again in our next session, bye bye.